Well, here I am in the park, and this is the second time I've shot this because the first time I shot a long rambling video and found out that I wasn't recording. Isn't that fun? In the blazing sun, so I'm in the shade. There's a little bit of sun coming down. And as people come and go, I may have to stop every once in a while, but I've been asking my friends to ask me what they would like to hear me talk about. And the first one was how to have a good life, how to live a good life. And this one, a friend wanted to know how I got where I got to spiritually, how all paths are pretty much the same, and she was, I think, more or less talking about respect between paths. I was brought up a very, very, very liberal Christian. My parents weren't really that big sticklers about going to church, but I did go to Sunday school. I was given lots of freedom to find the path that suited me. I think we just started out as Christian because most people around us were, and my mom's parents went to the United Church of Canada, so it was just the thing to do. So yeah, as I went on from childhood, I explored a lot of my friends' Christian paths, and some of them seemed very strange to me. The more Pentecostal ones was a little much for a shy little girl that I was at the time, but I kept searching. My heart was always in nature. It was always in being sensitive to everything around me and loving people. And so I had a very spiritual nature. As I kept growing, I think the very first thing that took me out of the mainstream of basic Christian churches was my sister told me about the Church of Religious Science, which was a path started by a man named Ernest Holmes. And the path was all about how God is continually giving to us, and it's our own barriers that stop the good from coming. So it was very much about sort of taking responsibility for good things happening to you, and that the universe, aka God, was always giving to us. So I got involved in that. Started reading the magazines, The Science of Mind, and I never went to any kind of church, but it was really fulfilling to me. And it made a lot of sense to me. And it was also very liberal, and not focusing on being more than anyone else, or sort of clubbish, or any kind of dogma. It was very loving, and to me, that's what Jesus is all about in God. So time goes on, and being that I love nature and have such a strong affinity for animals and plants, and what I felt were nature spirits at the time, and being very empathic and sensitive, I was tweaked onto native spirituality. Now, by native spirituality, I don't mean any particular tribe. It was kind of a very mishmash. It was somewhat New Agey, and without any disrespect to Native people, I never thought it was cultural theft. To me, it was sort of a love and respect and admiration and connection to the land around me. I live in North America. I've never lived anywhere else. I've grown up with this kind of nature and these animals around me, and so there was something very connected and unifying about native spirituality for me. And I followed that on my own for quite a while. being very sensitive to, I didn't want to act as if I knew better than a First Nations person at all, because I didn't about certain things, but I was trying to be sensitive, but in the end it wasn't totally sensitive, and it wasn't the right fit for me. So we go a few years later after, and I found an interest in Wicca. Now, I grew up with the same stereotype images as other people, but I also thought there was something beautiful about witches and poetic. And so I learned about Wicca, and I learned for quite a long time. In fact, it's pretty much 30 years that I've been Wiccan. I found it fit my nature. It embraces the God and the goddess, the creative force in everything. It sees beauty in many things, in the changes, in the ages, in the seasons. It's appreciative of what the earth gives us through God and goddess. It sees the universal one God as having a God and goddess face, two faces to every creative force. There's different ways, there's different traditions in Wicca that have different mythologies and different, I don't know how to say it, different ideas on things. But the basic structure of Wicca with most of Wiccan traditions is the same. There's learning about magic and manifestation, and it's for those who think it somehow usurps God. It doesn't. It doesn't try to take over. It very much loves God and goddess, and appreciates the creative force within. So that was my my time in Wicca, and I still am Wiccan, as I said, pretty much 30 years now. But as we go along, I mean, I never stop growing. I never stop trying to enlighten. I was introduced to the Sant Mat faith or path, and this is a path that involves all people of all traditions, and it is based more on the saint or the mystic, esoteric connection to all faiths. It's a very, very strongly meditational and self perfecting kind of path. There's a lot of work involved, a lot of self-work, and when I got into this, I just sort of realized what Jesus asked of us, what God asked of us, what all paths sort of ask of us. They ask us to speak of people lovingly, to have loving thoughts, and to listen to God, be still and listen. And it's all about having God guide us to what is truth and what is love, and eventually merging into God at the end of our soul's growth, or our continued trip back to home, which is to merge with God. And it's done me well. I have grown much more in this path myself, spiritually and lovingly, in the past almost 3 years that I've been in it, more than any other path that I've been in. I've done more self-work and become a better person. So, yeah, I think that all paths have some good. All paths are they're directing us to the source, which is God, and there's no deep dogma needed. And love is the main importance in our lives, love and merging back with God and finding out our true nature. And many of paths out there, many of these paths tell us that in one way or another. I think there's a problem when we start thinking that our path is the only way and everybody else is wrong. And we have to realize that there's the religion of God and then there's the religions of humanity. And we've sort of added things to it that don't necessarily need to be there. Love is more important than anything. So, you know, and I do believe that there are negative spirits, and I do believe that negative spirits do get their comeuppance. There is, in my path, I believe that what you send out does come back. And so okay guys, if there's a line here, it's just because I took my visor off. I had to move. Way too hot over there again, and my camera for some reason shut off. So as I was saying, yeah, good begets good and negative begets negative. So even though I don't believe in a kind of hell where you go there and you're punished forever, I do believe that there are consequences to what we do, punishments only in the concept of a learning lesson, because I believe everybody eventually goes back to God no matter what they do, because eventually we do learn. So it's not that they go back to God when they're not ready. They have to go through successive lives to learn. This is my belief. I don't ask anybody else to believe the way I do. This is my own personal belief, and I stand for it. I stand by it. Everybody's different. So in my idea of punishment, the concept of eternal punishment would be, it wouldn't make any sense, because what is the point of punishing forever? And I also don't believe that God is like that. I wouldn't want to punish someone forever. So anyway, so my concepts is that there are negative spirits, there are people that do bad things, and they will learn from it. Energy is circular. What we send out comes back. So that's about it. Yeah. Have a good one, and we'll do more vlogs later. If you're wondering at all what top I'm wearing, even though I shouldn't be talking about such things during this kind of a talk, it's from Forever 21. No, Old Navy. Old Navy. Sorry, Old Navy. And I will see you next episode. So have a good one. Enjoy the sun. Kiss your family. Kiss your best friend. Kiss your dog. Kiss yourself. And have a good one. Ciao.